I sat in this chair, or I have sat in this chair. The present perfect and the past simple can be so confusing, but today I'm going to help you to understand both of these verb tenses, and by the end of the video, you'll know when to use which one. Welcome to English Coach 3Ts. I'm Tanya, and today I'm going to start by helping you to understand the tenses. Then I'll give you some tips and we'll practice together. If you haven't already seen my video on the present perfect by itself or the past simple by itself, I'll put those links below. I've started by making a timeline to share with you that I think is going to help to clear up a lot of the confusion. So if you haven't already grabbed a pen and paper, grab one now. When I say grab a pen and paper, I mean get a pen and paper, because you're going to want to write this timeline down. So here we have the present moment. We could call it now, we could call it today. This is where we are now watching this video. And everything before now is represented by this thick line here. We also have points on the timeline. Last week, in May, we could have other points as well. The present perfect is represented by this line here because we're talking about something that happened before now when we're talking about the present perfect, and we don't know if it's finished or if it's continuing. The past simple is represented on the timeline with a point. It could be any point along this line, but it's something that happened and it's over with. I like to say with the past simple, it's something that is done and over. So let's take a look at some different ways we can express the fact that we have read a book in the past. We could say, I read that book last week. I read it last week. It's done. It's over with. I'm not reading it anymore. We could say, I read it in May. Again, it's done. It's over. I'm not reading it anymore. Or if we're not sure when we read it, we could say, I have read that book before. It's sometime before now in the past, and it's possible that I've read it more than once in the past. When I say something like, I have done this or that before, it happened in the past and we're not sure when. You can also put this in the negative by saying, no, I haven't read it before. Up until this point, I haven't read that book before. When you hear the word before, it's a clue that you're going to need the present perfect. So having said that, don't put your pen and paper away yet, because I want to share a list of words that give you a clue or signal to you that you need to use the present perfect. So here is a list of some of the most common ones. These words include lately and recently, before, since, already, just, yet, never, ever, and the word for when it's used with a period of time, like for 3 days, for a week, for 5 months. And phrases like so far, until now, and up to now. So what kind of words or phrases give us a hint to use the past simple? Write these down. On a date like October 10th, or even just a year like 2021. Yesterday, which is similar to last week, last month, or last year. Or on a specific event or holiday like Nowruz, Diwali, Christmas, your birthday, or even something like the pandemic. And then one of the things we forget is that we often use one of the past tenses to talk about something that happened earlier today. Let's look at a few examples using our timeline. So if I use the present perfect to say, I have eaten today, it means it's something that happened before now, but I'm not telling you exactly when. If I said, I ate today, this means it's a point on the line. I ate, it's done, and it's over. I could also say, for instance, I ate breakfast today if I wanted to be more specific. And I could also say, I ate earlier today. This isn't specific, but we can still put a point on the timeline, so it's simple past. But what happens when we add the word already? You saw this on our list of words that signal the present perfect. So if we want to say, I have already eaten today, then it's sometime today, but we don't know exactly when. I can even say, I have eaten twice today. Again, it happened twice today, but we don't have a specific time on the timeline, so we're going to use the present perfect. So let's think of some scenarios, or in other words, some times when you might be thinking, which one do I need? Let's say you want to talk about something from yesterday. Which one is it? If you remember, the word yesterday was on our list of words that signal the present perfect. But this is why it becomes a little confusing. If you're going to use the word yesterday in the sentence, like I did that yesterday, then you need the simple past. But if it happened yesterday, but you're not going to use the word yesterday in the sentence, and you're not going to tell us exactly when it was done, you can say, I have done that. And we don't know when it was. We don't know if it was yesterday, even though you might know that it was yesterday. And then, of course, if we add one of the other clue words to yesterday, like since yesterday, then because we added the word since, we're going to need the present perfect, like I have been doing that since yesterday, because it's been happening over a period of time. This is one of the things I tell students when they're trying to think about it. Is this something that happened, it's done and over with, or is it something that happened over a period of time? Let me give you a couple more examples of what we just talked about. If I want to say I had a headache yesterday, do I have a headache now? No, I had the headache yesterday. It's done and over with. I don't have a headache anymore. But if I say I have had a headache since yesterday, do I have a headache now? Yes. When we say I have had a headache since yesterday, it means the headache started yesterday. It's been happening ever since then, and I still have it, and I might continue to have it. While I hope you don't have to talk very often about having a headache, I hope that this is starting to help you. If it's confusing so far, maybe rewind and listen to it and see if you can understand the differences between what I'm saying. Let's practice again understanding the difference between a sentence in the present perfect and the past simple before we start constructing our own sentences. What's the difference between I did the project today and I have already done the project? Both of these sentences are talking about something that is done and over with. The difference is one of them expresses, I did it today, it's done. The other one is expressing the fact that I don't need to do it because I have already done it. Maybe somebody said you need to finish that project, and we want to say, I have already done it. With this example, we could say we're splitting hairs. To split hairs is an idiom that we use when we say the difference between two things is not very much. And in these two examples, the difference is not very much. If you say one or the other, you're not going to be wrong. One just expresses it a little differently than the other. Like I said just a little bit ago, hopefully this is helping. But if you're still confused, don't worry. I still have a lot to help you understand. And I'm going to be having a live lesson where you can ask your questions and get them answered here on YouTube. For the live lesson, the date will be this date here. If I want to talk about something from last month, again, it depends on, am I saying something that happened last month and it's done and over? If so, which of the tenses do I need? That's right, the simple past. But if I want to talk about something that's been happening since last month and it's either still happening or we're not sure, which of the tenses do I need? That's right, the present perfect. All right, now that we're starting to kind of get the feel of when we use the present perfect, let's practice with some practice examples. I'll give you a sentence with the verb and maybe some other words I want you to use in the blank in parentheses. And then we'll work together to figure out which of the tenses we need and how it would be written. Okay, let's try sentence number 1. It blank to be really cold here lately. The word lately is on one of our lists that gives us a clue, and so we're going to need the present perfect. It has been really cold here lately. We could also say it has been really cold here for the last few weeks. Let's change this sentence though and see what it might look like if we were using the simple present. With the simple present, we're going to use one of our other clue words, like it was really cold here last week, or yesterday, or last month. Something that indicates when it was really cold and now that's over. All right, let's look at some examples of another sentence. Here are 3 sentences that are similar but use the different tenses. Let's give it a try. So the first one is, I blank to study English for 5 years. The second one, I blank to study since the pandemic. And the third one here, I blank to start to study in 2020. See if you can fill in the blanks with the different verb tenses. If you need more time, pause the video. The first one would be, I have studied English for 5 years. The next one is, I have studied since the pandemic. And the last one is, I started to study in 2020. Let's take another scenario. Let's say that a friend of yours is in a movie. You know they're watching a movie at a theater and you want to give them a call. You might check to see what time it is, and then you could say something like, the movie blank just to end, I can call him now. So you would fill in the blank by saying, the movie has just ended, I can call him now. A note on the word just. In British English, they always use the present perfect with the word just, like the movie has just ended. But in American English, you can use either one. We are a little more casual about this. So you can say the movie has just ended or the movie just ended. Either one is correct. Here's another example. She blank already to do her homework, so now she can go out with her friends. To make this sentence correct, you would say, she has already done her homework, so now she can go out with her friends. Let's try another one. I blank never to see anything like that before. Remember, if you need more time, pause the video. The answer for this one would be, I have never seen anything like that before. Another one, I blank to finish my homework this morning. The answer, I finished my homework this morning. And in this last example, the 2 tenses are used together. How long blank you to have that phone? I blank to have it for a year. I blank to buy it when it was on sale. So altogether, this one would be, how long have you had that phone? I have had it for a year. I bought it when it was on sale. That last one was a little bit tricky, but don't worry. If you still have questions, you can still come to our live class at this date and time here. I hope that this has been helpful for you so far. If it has, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe because it really does help us. So how are you going to remember this? The best way to remember this is to practice and practice. There are several different ways that you can practice. Of course, practicing with a teacher or a tutor will be very helpful. But if that's not an option to you, go back to the list of words I gave you and make some examples with those words that you can relate to. Be sure to review your examples a week or so after you've made them. Another way to practice is to search for worksheets on the internet. You can find worksheets that have similar practice examples to the ones we did today. Just remember, it could have some differences between American English and British English, so just look for the one that you're most interested in. I know that these verb tenses can be a little bit confusing, and sometimes that's very frustrating. Hang in there and keep practicing. Every little bit of practice will get you closer to your goal. If you want to watch our video about the present perfect, I've linked it for you right here. Or here's another English lesson I've created for you. See you there.